Hello and welcome to 7 days of Halloween.
Hi everyone, it's Monica and welcome back to day 6 of 7 days of Halloween. Well, today I'm pulling out this mini Halloween set and we used it for the flashcards earlier in the week, but I wanted to go ahead and pull this out and use this pumpkin because this pumpkin doesn't get a lot of use. And sometimes some of the most simple stamps we tend to forget about. So I decided to go ahead and pull this pumpkin out and do some masking. And we can make some really cute Halloween cards with just a couple stamps. And that's what I want to try to do today, is just create a very simple Halloween card. So I'm going to use this pharmacy label as my base for my pumpkins because I don't want my pumpkins floating in air. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp this down and we'll use this as the base. Now, if you don't have this stamp set and you don't have this pharmacy label, just anything that has a straight edge would be perfect for a ledge. Basically, when you're stamping your images, such I am on my pumpkins here, you just don't want them necessarily not to have a base because then it looks a little odd. So anything that has a flat surface is great to use as a base. So once I have my pharmacy label stamped, I'm going to go ahead and get my pumpkin, and I'm trying to line it up right on the edge. I don't want the pumpkin to be over that label, and that's why I was kind of lifting it up and seeing exactly where the image started. And then once I figured that out, I went ahead and stamped it. Now I'm going to be doing some masking here, and when I decided to do this design, I wasn't really sure how many pumpkins I was going to need. So if I had planned it ahead of time, I probably would have stamped my pumpkins and fussy cut them ahead of time so that way I would have them all ready to go. But I wasn't really sure exactly what I was going to do, so I kind of stamped and cut as I went along. Probably is not the most efficient way to do it, but again, I wasn't really sure what my design was going to end up being. Ultimately, I ended up using 3 pumpkins, and I don't necessarily show you every single pumpkin that I'm fussy cutting here, but ultimately I do end up using 3. Now, when you have a stamp set that has some highlights like this pumpkin did, I don't cut where the highlights are. I cut on the darkest part of the image, and I cut exactly on the line because I don't want any white space to be showing around my image. So typically when I do fussy cutting for some of my ephemera pieces, I do leave a little bit of a border, but when I am doing masking, I make sure that I cut right on that dark line. Now, if you don't have the Tim Holtz stamp, any pumpkin will work. It just wants to be kind of, you need to make sure it's kind of small. But if you have any other pumpkins for any of your stamp sets, this would work great with those as well. I even considered using the skeleton head, but I decided it was a little bit awkward and I wanted to stick to a more round image. Okay, so I've got both pumpkins stamped and I'm going to go ahead and stamp one more. And had I planned this card ahead of time, I probably would have had the third pumpkin as the focal point, meaning I would have stamped that first and then I would have masked it off after that. But as I'm going here, you're going to see that this last pumpkin is going to get, the bottom part is going to get covered a little bit, which is fine. But had I hindsight, I would have done that one first. And then once I had that third pumpkin stamped, I wanted to create some sort of a background. And this is where I brought out my typography stamps. I don't have the name of the stamp right in front of me, but I'll make sure that I do leave it listed in the description box for you as well. Now, there were several choices of stamps for the background image, but I went ahead and I chose one that tended to fit the design a little bit better. Some of the other ones I thought were either too long or too skinny, and this one seemed to work really well. So I had all 3 of my pumpkins masked, and then I went ahead and I stamped my background stamp, as you can see, it worked perfectly. All right, so I went ahead and I added the white cardstock to a black cardstock base, and now I'm going to go ahead and add some darker ink around the edges. Ordinarily, I use walnut stain, but my walnut stain has been MIA, so I'm going to my next choice, which is my scorched timber. Both of those work really well. Essentially, you just want to have any type of darker ink to give it more of a shadow and frame your image. And then I'm going right into my stencil where I'm using my spiderweb stencil just to give it some nice background and to clear up some of that white space in the background. Now at this point I had already removed those masking pieces from my pumpkins, so I'm making sure that I don't add any spider webs to my pumpkins. I mean, if I did, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I really wanted it more of a background versus webs being over my pumpkins. And then finally, I'm coming in with my spider, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want to put my spider. I probably didn't have to add it, but I figured I did have some room on the sides, so what the heck, I went ahead and I added a spider as well. So we're coming up on our final touches here. I'm going to go ahead and ink up my spider and add it to the left, and then as you can see, I strategically did leave some space on the top for my sentiment. And there's lots of sentiments that you can use. Keep in mind, you don't always have to grab the one that's in the set that you're using. Be adventurous. Go see what other sentiments you have that would work. I'm going to go ahead and be unadventurous, I guess, and I'm going to use the one that was a part of this stamp set. But honestly, I don't use it enough, so I think it was well timed to use these stamps. And I think that's what I'm going to start doing from now on. When I pull out a set and I see it hasn't ever been inked up, by goodness, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I think we need to use all of our stamps in our sets. I know Tim says that it's okay to just buy a stamp set for one particular or two particular stamps, but I like to use all of mine. All right, so the sentiment looks really great, I think. And as you can see here, I am coloring up my pumpkins with some Copic markers. You might be wondering how the pumpkins actually got orange already, because I did edit that out. I did start to color them up with some oxide inks, but as you can see, it just didn't look very well. So I am coming in with some Copic markers, just a couple of colors, just to go ahead and make it a little bit darker, make them look like true pumpkins. Don't make them look shadowy or anything like that. And I think the darker orange really looked great. All right, guys, so I am finishing up this card, and I am finishing up my 6th day of my 7 days of Halloween. I really hope that you've enjoyed this series. I always enjoy making this series every year, even though my time is getting less and less these days, it seems. I definitely try to do my best to get this series taped for you guys. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you haven't left a thumbs up on the other videos, go back and do that. All right. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And of course, the little bell so you'll be notified. And as always, I'll try to find all the products that I've used in this demonstration. So if you do want to go out and get a set on your own, you'll be able to find them. Honestly, some of the sets that I use are older and they may be hard to find, but I am really an advocate for use what you have. After all, just because a store isn't selling it anymore, or perhaps the, really, really famous influencers aren't using them in their Instagrams or in their videos, I think we as card makers and creators need to continue to use the product that we love. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you tomorrow for our last day of 7 days of Halloween.